Where are we going next? Who are we going to talk to?
Alan.
Alan on line 6 in sunny California. I hope it's sunny. Maybe it's not. How you doing, Alan? You're on with Jenna and Matt.
Hi.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Not too bad.
So, good. Well, as you probably saw, I think I figured out one of the reasons why I seem to not be able to let go of my belief in God.
Okay.
And I think it's because, and I'm not asking for empathy, but I suffer from borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
So my judgment isn't always the best. And there's been several times where I should have either been killed or I should have been in trouble, and things intervened. And at first I would initially get mad, like, why can't I just be in charge of my own fate? But then I think to myself, maybe it's God, maybe it's not. But still, I don't buy into the Bible at all. And part of me is like, dude, this is irrational. But I think because I have borderline personality disorder and my judgment is poor and I've experienced a lot of failures, I'm not so much more so afraid of going to hell. I'm afraid of having a guide, not having a guide to intervene at the last minute when I mess up.
Do you think that you have a guide that would intervene at the last minute?
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% convinced at all. You got me there.
Yeah, I mean, so if you don't have a good reason to think you have one, then you don't have a good reason to think you'd be losing one. And this is not relevant to the show. This is entirely personal. Can I ask you a rather strange question about your condition?
I understand, sure.
One, I don't know whether or not you're being treated, but do you have periods where you completely shut down, like are catatonic and don't want to interact with people?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I am
Dissociate?
pretty antisocial.
You mean dissociate, or do you mean?
No, we don't need to go into it. It's not relevant here. It's just,
Sure.
it's a thing. So anyway, on the actual subject, if you're sitting here saying, hey, I don't believe the Bible, and I'm not sure if I believe this other stuff, I'm just terrified of the potential consequences of my own decision. It'd be really nice to think that there was somebody there who was going to rescue me right before I did something that was too bad. Yeah, that'd be really nice. Who wouldn't want, hey, you're getting ready to really screw up, let me step in and help out.
You know how you find that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm listening.
You build a community around yourself, that you have people that you trust their judgment, and you can say, hey, check me when I do this, check me when I do that. If I'm saying something that's wrong, let me know. Build yourself a community that can help you do that. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's exactly where I was going. I don't have any reason to think that there's a guardian angel, but I do have friends. Mm-hmm. And the more I shut myself off from friends, the less capable they are to say, hey, you're fucking up. It's difficult, and what it means is that sometimes even when you don't feel like it, it's probably in your best interest to find some people and to build that network with it doesn't have to be massive. Probably shouldn't just be one. It probably should be 2 or 3 people that you can find, that you can trust with stuff to say, hey, and especially if you already know, if you know that there are areas where your decision-making is flawed. Mm-hmm. In the same way, if you're dealing with somebody who's an alcoholic but who's actually struggling with it, hey, I know that when it comes to these kind of decisions, I'm gonna probably screw up, or I'm at bigger risk. Can you let me know if you start to see that? And so like if Jenna had come to me with something like that, and let's say the whole ACA was getting ready to go out to a bar and hang out, if I thought for a second that would be problematic for her, then as a friend, I would say, hey, do you really want to do this? Or better, I would say, can we move this someplace so that Jenna can go with us? Now, as it turns out, I don't have any reason to suspect that is a problem, because you're fairly well grounded, and you haven't told me.
Well, I don't go to bars.
Yeah, you haven't told me, hey, here's an area where I want you specifically to do that. But you have networks of people that you do that with. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to give people the impression that
I do.
I'm not necessarily part of Jenna's network. We're friends and we're on the show together. But yeah, building that. Build your own guardian angels. And rather than relying on a possible fictional one, now all of a sudden you don't have to hang on to any religious baggage, and you have something that is demonstrably real to help you instead of something that maybe doesn't exist.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. And I appreciate it. That gives me a lot to think about.
Good.
I guess another reason why I can't seem to let it go, and this is totally childish and selfish of me, and it may make me sound like a monster. I think another reason, and other people don't seem to talk about this, I think another reason why so many of us want to cling on to this belief is because, let's be honest, most people would like the idea of being God, being in charge of every aspect of their life. And the only thing closest to that is to, quote unquote, have a relationship with that being. But I guess that's more so for my insecurity than more so belief.
Kind of depends on what your God model is. I would have never looked at it. That basically, the type of Christianity that I was particularly raised in, it's not like it makes me any closer to being a God. It's because God ultimately has his plan, and he's going to do what he wants to do, and he's made his decisions about my life and everything else. It's not like maybe Mormonism, where, when you're done, you get to be your own God with your own planet type thing. Yeah.
Which religion are you coming from?
I come from a non-denominational Christian background here in California. And what I mean by being my own God isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to be divine and I have people worshiping. No, that sounds terrible. Ugh. What I mean is not having to worry about anything anymore.
Yeah.
And it's childish, I know, but that's what I mean. I come from...
I try not to use childish as a pejorative anymore, because what it is it's human. And while we look at some things and say, oh, this is immature, okay, so what? It doesn't, label childish, immature, whatever else. My concern is it reasonable? Is it rational? And is it something that's productive that's going to lead you towards something better? But you look like you disagree.
Well, I wouldn't say it's childish. I'd say it's human.
That's what I just said.
Well, but the reason I try to clarify that is because, like, when they say let go, let God, like you say that we want to just be able to not worry about it. Like, I think that there's good behind that. There's, to be able to let go and not be worried about everything all the time is the only way you can make it to tomorrow.
Yeah, well...
Like, I just mean that there's a balance. There are things to worry about. There are things to let go. The let go, let God is because we are human and we are naturally wired to stress. And so it's good to have something on the outside of us telling us, stop that for a little bit because you're obsessing.
I just realized I don't have my little soundboard push button out here, and it doesn't matter because it doesn't I would love for it to have like the let it go from Frozen.
I like what you brought up, Jenna. Let go, let God intervene. Well, growing up, I was always hearing like people say, "Oh, let God handle it all." And my question would be, "How come God lets bad things happen?"
Right.
Well, you can't expect God to do all the work. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, just do the best you can, and then what happens will happen.
That wasn't French, by the way. It would be le fuck.
Yeah. I think you're doing all right, Alan.
All right. Well, thank you both. And even though at this point I'm still an agnostic Christian, I do appreciate what you guys do with the Atheist Community of Austin, because I am staunch on separation of church and state, and you guys seem to be the ones that do that. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This community.
Keep thinking. Keep calling.
Right.
Yeah, maybe not quite as much on like AXP calls. We don't get into as much church separation as perhaps we should or would like to. But
You might like to call Truth Wanted. They have a lot of time to talk and break things down.
But, outside of this, I tend to do a lot of work with other organizations when I can on church-state separation issues. And, American Atheist does it, Freedom from Religion Foundation does it.
And we just started GB3 again, so
Yay.
we're talking about that kind of thing.